What's going to go on this morning is we're going to start off shooting on rappel. Two very dangerous things. First of all, you get the firearms in play, then you get on the rope, and you're going to find out how difficult it actually is. Would you recommend using this as far as a tactical entry? No. Out of all the years that our team's been in existence, we've used this once, and that was only for intelligence gathering, where we inverted and went down and looked in the window of a hotel room. So tactically, this wouldn't be the smart thing to do, and you really wouldn't use it, but it is a lot of fun to do. We're going to be shooting with the Sig Sauer P226. It's got an 8mm barrel in it. It's blue in color. This will not allow any 9mm round to go inside. All right, that's why we use these. We'll be using simunition. This stuff's coming out about 400 to 450 feet per second. So if you get hit with it, it's going to sting. All right, and based on various parts of the body, you know, it could be deadly. So we're going to really control the safety when this is loaded. We're going to have people going up and down the tower. We're going to control that because people are going to be coming down the ropes and shooting inside at the targets, and we don't want any moving targets inside so nobody gets shot. All right? But I've been shot with it numerous times. It does sting a little bit, might cause a little bruise, just in case anybody gets hurt. It's not like it's going to go over anything deadly for you. We have eyes. Everybody will wear eyes when they're coming down and shooting. Ears aren't mandatory over here. It's not very loud at all. What we're going to be doing is we're going to come down, we're going to do a little demonstration on a basic entry. We're going to be coming down and showing you how to shoot on rappel. We're going to be showing you how to lock off for those beginners that have never done it before. Basically starting off on ground zero. If you just come up, I recommend that you, now I'm going to assist you, take your weapons off and put them in your car. No ammunition, no guns, no anything. So if you'll run back and do that, appreciate that. First of all, we're going to start off with a little demonstration, and please watch them. When you're going to be doing an entry into a window, tactics are everything, and you don't want to be heard. Notice how they're rappelling out of bags. We won't be doing that per class, but you don't have any lines giving you away telling the people that you're coming down. Not too much noise in this procedure. Everybody's pretty much in line. They're working together. They kind of have that peripheral vision. Officer in the middle, they're going to come down. They're basically total cover. They're looking. They can see the feet. That's basically what you're looking for. That's the first thing you're going to see. Target identification. First officer goes in, the gun's out, he's the cover person. If anything's in there, he's going to be taking them out. As the other officers go in, they're going to be communicating with each other. And you'll see it takes a while to get in, and these are with open windows. In a tactical situation, whether it be a bank or a high-rise or whatever, you got to look at the construction. Is it 2-inch thick glass? How are you going to break and rake and get in there? And that's what it'll sound like on this ammunition going in. If you have any weapons, please take them to your car now and hustle on back. No, you can keep that. The only equipment that you're going to need today is you'll need an 8 if you have it, a beaner if you have it. We'll give you the web gear. Everybody's going to be tying off a modified Swiss seat. We'll give you the 9mm ammunition rounds in our guns, our P226s. Yeah, you can leave them over on the side as long as they're out of the way and nobody goes to them.
Can't use our own harnesses?
No, basically we'd have to safety check every one of them, and we'll do it all with the modified Swiss, and everybody will be on the same wavelength.
In an unoccupied room, I was prepared as much as possible to cover him whenever, if and when somebody detected him and maybe came out the window or presented a threat to us. At the same time, there should have been other cover people positioned around here, not solely on just us. Once inside the room, I clear the room from a position still on line, and I wait for the rest of the team to enter the room, which would have been Kurt.
Right here.
There's Kurt.
My name is Kurt Chapman. I was obviously the opposite of Bobby. I was on the right-hand side. Bobby and I came down. We stayed just above John Murphy, who will introduce himself in a minute. And when he turned inverted, he was able to secure that window visually. And when he gave us the thumbs up, I don't know if you saw the thumbs up, but when he gave us the thumbs up, Bobby went in, and then I swung in. Bobby took a position first with cover with his gun drawn. I came in, took a position cover with my gun drawn. This is an unoccupied room. And then John Murphy turned back inverted, or straight up and down, and he came in the window, and he drew his gun. And at that time, when you heard the shots fired, is when the bad guy entered the room, and we all shot him. But we were all providing cover for each other the whole time.
I'm John Murphy. My background includes Marine Corps Mountain Warfare School. I'm certified as a mountain leader. I'm a rappel master, and been through the amphibious reconnaissance course and the advanced reconnaissance operations course. My job was to execute the peak, roll inverted, and as I start coming down, the advantage to being upside down and looking in is you get that window sill. I'm looking down, I can see any shadows of his feet movement off the light. I can see his feet, whereas from his view from inside the room, his head is here, and he can only see like that at an angle up to that windowsill, whereas me being inverted, I can see in the room a lot further, and I'll see his feet approaching the window, and I can give the no or no-go criteria at that time. Signaling's important. Daylight, thumbs up's fine. Nighttime, you'd want to use taps or light. Once the other two men enter, I'll go ahead and enter the room. First man in does not disconnect. He just steps aside. He immediately draws his weapon. He stays hooked up. He can provide immediate cover if they hear you coming into that unoccupied room. Whereas the other two of us go in, we'll go ahead and unhook, and then we'll draw on cover while the third man unhooks. Then we can begin our search. Or if we're heard coming in the window, if we had to break a window and we're heard coming in, then the other man's already prepared to provide cover. Well, we're talking about entering a room that's tactically sound to go ahead and enter the unoccupied room and then sweep on level ground. There may be an instance arising where you have to fire on the rope. Either the room is occupied or they enter in the process of entry. You need to be able to draw your weapon immediately and go hands-free, rappelling. In a tactical situation, you're not going to have a belay man, and we'll cover the belay procedures in a few minutes. What we're going to show you now is called a Prusik belay. The gentleman coming off the top will demonstrate a Prusik belay, and all it is on your rappel rope, you use a Prusik knot and a Prusik cord and a secured into your seat. As you're coming down, if you turn loose of your brake hand, that's what it was designed for, is to stop you. It's a self-belay for the first man down the rope. Boom, you turn loose, both hands, and that Prusik knot will catch. And then to free the Prusik knot, you're going to bring your leg up, strap the ropes up, stand up on the rope, and loosen the knot up. What we're going to demonstrate it here is how you can shoot with it, because when they release their hands, they don't have to worry about their brake anymore. They can draw, and they can use one hand to move with, one hand to fire with, or however the situation dictates. Entries are not always going to go the way as planned. You're going to get a knot in your rope bag. As demonstrated up there, repack the rope bag immediately before coming off, still got a knot in it. That's where you're going to have to swing over and use your buddy system to get the knots out of your bag. The advantage to using a rope bag is the rope is not dangling down in front of the window and does not give your presence away.
Ready?
Come on now. Okay, you see the green cord coming down on Bobby's hand. What he's doing is he's using his guide hand. He's sliding that Prusik knot down the rope as he comes. As long as he does not allow any tension on that knot, he can rappel free. When he gets down lower, he needs to get the gun. He just turn loose of his brake hand, immediately draw his pistol, and fire. What it does is freeze that brake hand up. You set your Prusik knot. Then to get out of the Prusik knot, if it's tactically sound to do so, if you eliminated your threat, you can pull your leg up close. You wrap a couple wraps around your foot. Then you could stand up, and take the tension off of your Prusik knot, as Bobby's demonstrating there. Okay, if it was not tactically sound to do so, you would draw your knife, or what works great is a parachute shroud cutter. It's a little hook knife. You just cut the rope and you're going down. Using a figure eight, the next man coming down will be able to pass over that knot if there was somebody else on the line, and either cut the line and come on down.
I got to untie this crummy knot.
Okay, that shows the advantage of just being able to go hands-free operation.
Hold on just 1 second. Wait a second.
Wait a second. Okay, for the purpose of this class, what we're going to do is have you tie off. The next thing we're going to demonstrate is Mike's going to come down. We're going to show you the belay procedures, because each of you will be serving as a belay man. Make sure that it's clear in everybody's mind how you want to stop the person coming down the rope. You going to belay? Yeah. Okay.
On this belay, go ahead, Mike. On this belay, you won't need gloves because we don't want you to wear gloves. We want you to be able to feel the rope in your hand. The rope will not move and will not burn you. Yeah, I have him totally. He did mine first. I can drop him or I can stop him. All right, ready to on rappel? You'll notice the rope doesn't really move out of my hand. It's farther back as you get.
Yeah, check it.
I didn't put it through here.
Yeah, next we're going to be locking off.
What I want you to do is come around so you can look.
To the side so you can see what he's doing.
If you have to get to a situation, my brake hand's on my rear end. Wherever I go, as long as my brake hand's down there, it can't stop me. Alright? If I have to tie off for some reason, what I'm going to do is take my guide hand, come across as far as I can go, keeping pressure on it, pull it around, and just lock off. From here, it's the same principle. Come around, and we'll do it twice just for safety. For here, I'm totally locked off. I can't go anywhere. That's what you want. If you have to come down, you can shoot, do whatever you need, help your buddy out if he's dangling, just in case. You know, if something goes wrong, you can't lock off. To get out of it, what you do is your rope's going to be on your brake hand side automatically. You make like a little loop there. Pull it, come through again, and you're going to pull it again. Remember my brake hand, it's always on my rear end. I'm not going to go anywhere. Again, I take my guide hand, come across, keeping tension on the line, and you lock it off. And you always do it twice just for safety. Done, do it again. I bring it back, have my little loop there, and I'm locked off. We'll go through that with each and every one of you so you'll be confident.
This is going to be like a practice run over here. The entry onto the rope is going to be real easy off of there because you're coming through an elevator hatch, a simulated elevator hatch. which is going to take the slack drop off of the lock off on the edge. It's going to eliminate all that for anybody who hasn't done that before. And it's going to allow you to come down and practice your locking off, drawing, shooting, holstering. It's going to give you the opportunity to try a lot of that. You'll still be close enough to the wall to where you'll be able to anchor yourself from spinning. If you were on a free line, you'd have a tendency to spin with whatever the wind was blowing you or the rope was twisted. Now Juan's kind of got a...
That's all right. Take your time. Take your time. Take your time, Juan.
weapon direction there, Juan.
Take your time. Keep talking, hold.
The knots, primarily we use a family of 8. We'll use the figure 8 knots, as most rappelling teams will. The water knots for the webbing. It's all pretty standard for anybody who's been exposed to it at all. The belays we've already done. We're going to have you demonstrate to us. They're a regular standing belay on a stationary line. So it's not a running belay, whereas the belay line is a separate line anchored to a guy with a separate anchor to where it feeds through, which is a passing line. It would pass through you where you would wear gloves. This line is the actual end of the rappel line. So the equipment we're going to use, forgive me if some of this is kind of very basic, but we need to go through it just real quick. The carabiners, the 8s, Stu-Bys, however you want to call them, they're incorporated into the systems. They're incorporated into your personal systems, and they're incorporated into the anchoring systems. They're basically two styles, the alloy or the steel. The designs vary in different shapes and sizes. This particular one right here, this SMC that he's got, is a steel, and it's got a unique design into it, because on these carabiners the weakest part is this gate. You'll find the old ovals are just that. They're just an old oval. The design of this thing right here transfers the stress to this carabiner to this. About 90% of this one, if not 100%, is transferred to this solid end of the carabiner. It makes it a lot stronger, and also allows you, once you're on tension, to open the gate if you need to insert anything into your line. The 8s, there again, the 8s, this is a rescue 8. Now they're calling it an assault 8, I guess for police purposes, so we don't feel left out. This is yeah. Generally, this is a fireman's 8, which is what I was always taught. These ears are primarily to keep the rope from riding up, from your brake, from riding up into the top of the knot. It'll cinch up on you and lock yourself off. It's just a little added safety thing. The size of the 8s increased a little bit from years ago. They were a lot smaller, and they're still on the market and a lot smaller. For our purposes, we haven't had any trouble with the ears dragging over the edges or anything like that and hanging anybody up, not any more than a regular 8 does. There again, the alloy in this thing is a good heat transfer, and it'll transfer out of this and dissipate a lot faster than it will out of the steel. The steel is a lot stronger. Between the two of them, what heat does transfer down into that steel generally is so minimal that there's no problem in burning your seat. Some of the old harnesses used to have a little web piece across the front. A lot of guys would wrap their carabiners without the 8, come down 50 to 100 feet, sometimes even more, and the heat will transfer through those things, and we've even had people on the team that have burned the strap of the front of their seat off and hit the deck from it. And that was years ago, and it was a short 10-foot drop, but that's one reason why these systems are incorporated, and we use them the way we do. The harnesses and seats, if you've got harnesses and seats, today I would like for you to try our system. We're gonna use this modified Swiss seat on a tubular webbing. I'd like you to try it. That way I can kind of save time not trying to inspect your seats. There's a point on here where you'll be able to invert if you want to. If it's possible, I kind of encourage you to try it. It's not as bad a maneuver as it kind of appears to be. This seat will ensure me that you're not going to fall out of it either. You know, once you're tied into this, you aren't going to fall out of your seat. So we'll hand out, we've got all that for you. We'll hand those out to you. The ropes, we use a standard static line kern mantle rope, which is, these ropes are nylon strands are on the inside of this rope. They run the entire length of the rope. And they're surrounded by a fabric sheath, which is the mantle on the outside. The old mountain climbing ropes are almost like a bungee cord, where once you go online, there's a lot of play in it. So if you fall off the mountain, you don't get that sudden jerk if you got a 20, 30 foot fall before you start to hit your anchor points. These lines, they will give a little, but they're nowhere near like those bungee lines or the mountain climbing ropes are. We encourage full gloves. If anybody has half gloves, there you go, here's a smoker. You've got to be very careful. Normally, we don't have enough gloves out here for everybody. I hope everybody's got some kind of gloves with them. One thing you're going to have to be real careful of is to make sure that the rope stays into the palm of your hand, because when it starts to ride out onto your fingers, the faster you go, the more that thing's going to burn you, and you're going to have a tendency to, anything hot, you're going to have a tendency to let go, and you're going to, I don't know what your experience level is, you're going to have to, if you start to go, you're going to have to roll your hand and fight that urge to let go and smoke your hand a little bit. Or
I have some gloves for you that you can put on underneath.
all right, thank you. Yeah, you want to do the commands now?
You're going to be hearing several commands from us today. If you hear ceasefire, you stop everything that you're doing. I recommend you stop. When you get on the rope, as we're going through it, as we work up to it, you'll say on rappel. The person down here, which will all be safety officers, you'll be belaying officers up there, so you have to pay attention and watch what they're doing. We're going to be watching everybody also. But when he says on rappel, you'll say on belay, and that means that you're ready when he comes off, so you can stop him. When you get down, you'll say off rappel, then they'll say off belay. Freeze all action on the whistle. Sarge will have a whistle over there. If you hear a whistle, I want you to stop immediately. If you hear one of the instructors or one of the safety officers say, that's going to hurt, it's going to hurt. All right, so you might want to stop, regroup, and check it all out again. Remember, God only gave us 2 of these. All right, if you make one mistake, you have one left. But if you make 2 mistakes, you're going to be a hurting little puppy. A verbal check valve, what I mean by that is you are all safety officers, you know your limitations better than any one of us. So if you don't feel comfortable doing something, don't do it. All right? Your own verbal check valve. If you don't feel comfortable, don't do it. If that hair stands up, don't do it. All right? We can come back, go through it on a slower speed. Tower safety, we're going to limit the number of people up there. We're going to allow you to go up at specific times. Remember, they are shooting simunitions, so we're going to control that. No more than 2 people on the top of the tower. Is that what you prefer, Bobby?
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. But what we're afraid of on the top of the tower is getting too many people up there and somebody getting bumped. There's only going to be a couple of static lines up there, and I'm afraid of somebody getting knocked off the edge of the tower.
What we'll do is we'll stage everybody up on the 5th floor. Right before you go up to the top, there'll only be 2 people up there on the end. Mount the tower only when told to do so. No edged weapons whatsoever. No knives. I recommend you take all the keys out of your pockets. If you invert, it's going to come down. No money, no weapons whatsoever. No ammunition. We'll provide you with the SIG P226s with this ammunition in it. And remember, as far as the weapon safety, you want to watch the muzzle direction. Anything that you're going to take out, make sure of your target, make sure of what's behind it. Watch your finger position. Know your equipment. Eye protection, everybody will have eye protection on when they're coming down and shooting. Ears are optional. We recommend everybody have headgear, whether it be a helmet or whatever. That's a recommendation. You can, but you don't have to. Rappelling experience, there's a lot of different levels here. Some are more experienced than probably others, but some have not been on a rope before. So know your own limitations, and if you are experienced, help out. If you have some gear to switch out, somebody needs some, please, we recommend you do that. As far as the firearm safety, again, I covered that. I don't want to belay on that. Treat all weapons as if they are loaded. Again, we're going to load them and hand it to you. Do not do a press check. What you'll find out is if you do a press check, it brings that ammunition out of the barrel and it's no longer chambered, and then you're going to have a malfunction. So we'll hand you a loaded gun, make sure you put it in the holster, and wait until you're on rappel, and that'll be later on in the course. We're not really going to touch on tactics too much. There's so many tactics that we can go over. When would you do this? When wouldn't you? Snipers are going to be out there. They're probably going to be talking to you. You're going to be listening to radio communications. Again, it comes on the thickness of the glass. Do you have a break and rake guy? That's all going to be worked out in a school that's a lot longer than 4 hours. So we're not going to belay on that. What we'll do now is we'll put everybody on the ropes. Make sure that you're familiar after we tie the Swiss sheets with you, and make sure you can lock off. You'll get that brake hand and your guide hand down, and we'll go through them systems. If you'll stay right here, we'll go get the webbing for you. We'll come over and we'll all show you how to do that and tie off, and we'll go from there.
One thing real quick on the tactics while he's doing that. What we recommend is this type of operation is really just a stealth operation. This is a flanking move to get it around or behind an opponent or an adversary, to be someplace where he doesn't expect you to be. That's our primary function on the SWAT team with rappelling, or insertion. The other thing that we really use it for is intelligence. Some of the hotels we have here have no balconies on them. A barricaded gunman inside will shut the curtains, leave the lights on, but he'll shut the curtains. And even a guy at a distance with a pair of binoculars or a scope is not going to really be able to see through the cracks of the edges, where sometimes you can get a guy down there and put him in a position where he can get some intelligence from the guy inside the room. So that's primarily what we end up using it for and recommend it for. What you're going to be doing today is going to be basically simulating something along these lines, and the problem is going to be once you're detected and you're confronted by an adversary while you're on the rope, or as we progress on, if it goes fast enough and good enough, we'll actually go inside and do a confrontation once inside. But it's still going to fall basically along the lines of trying to do this as quietly as possible and undetected.
What you're going to be using for equipment is tubular nylon webbing. It looks flat, however, it's actually tubular. If you turn it in your fingers, you'll see that it's hollow in the center, and it's a tubular construction. It has a tensile strength of about 4,500 pounds. It doesn't break. It'll melt, but it won't break. It'll hold up any 5 of us, it'll hold us up and it won't break. So we don't have to worry from that standpoint. However, we do have to be careful when we tie our knots and we do secure the seat on our bodies. But the webbing itself is very, very strong, and you don't have to worry about it giving way. When you cut webbing or do anything with it, you seal it, with a cigarette lighter or a hot putty knife, a blowtorch. It melts, and that's how come the ends are melted together like that. It's very easy to use. Now, take your webbing. You notice I have a nice visual pink here so y'all can see. Find the middle of your webbing, hold it up over your head.
That's not really why you got pink.
Yeah, I thought of that at the last minute. You see, you don't want both ends of the webbing to be the same length, is why you're moving it offset. Now, you'll hold it, grab it with your other hand, and move your finger back to here. See, you've taken about 6-8 inches off of one side, and now you drop it again. You've made one side a little longer than the other, so when you tie it on your hip, hopefully both sides will come out even. Now that you've got it off center, take your thumb and stick it down the top of your britches like so. That'll hold it. Stick it way down there. It's going to pop out, but you're just doing that to hold it in place for now. Now, keeping the webbing flat at all times when we're doing this, try to keep the webbing flat. Bend your knees a little bit and crouch down, and you're going to take the webbing and you're going to bring it up through your crotch, both sides of your package. Make sure that the webbing's flat for comfort. Yeah. Now bring the 2 ends out in front of you like so. It's still in the top of your belt, as you see. Still in the top of your belt. Go ahead and reaffix it there. There you go. Try to keep it flat. You see how I have it flat? Keep it flat. Now, without letting it come out the top again, you'll take it and you go under and over like that. And at the same time, you'll pull it out of the top of your belt, and it'll look like this. Okay, everybody get in this position here. Go over it, make sure it's flat, make sure the webbing runs flat through your crotch. And you're going to look like so. Don't get ahead of us. Yeah, that's right. Don't get ahead of us. All right. Now right here, yours is crooked there. Straighten it up. Now, just like when you tie knots in line and your seat, you want it to look pretty. If it doesn't look pretty, it's usually wrong. You want it to look pretty, the webbing laid flat. Now what you're going to do is a little maneuver. You're going to bend at the knees and crouch down, and you're going to pull the webbing taut, and you're going to make a small little package there. See, you want to get a nice small little package. Unfortunately, some packages are smaller than others. But at any rate, it's relative. Get a small package. Okay, yeah. And this is on tape too. Jesus.
Tighter the better. Tighter the better.
Yeah.
It's gonna loosen up.
Yeah, tighter the better. Get a nice small package, and it should be flat. It should be tight, but still comfortable.
On a small package, you don't want that loop up there by your belt line.
Okay.
Down.
Yeah, do you hear what Mike said? Keep that webbing below your belt. It's got to be below your belt. Now you're going to change your position of your hands, keeping it tight. You're going to draw the webbing around your back and crisscross it behind your back, keeping it tight. You're bound to end up with a twist here and there. Just try to keep it as flat as you can, but it's not. Keep it below your belt again. Keep it below your belt. And now you're going to have two pieces of webbing that are roughly the same length on your left hip. Okay, get it below your belt. See how mine's below my belt? Okay, get it below your belt. There you go. Keep it low. Low, below your belt. Now we're going to tie what's called a surgeon's knot. If you were to tie your shoelaces, you go around once and you pull it. Well, a surgeon, when they tie catgut, when they cut you open, they do a surgeon's knot, which is instead of going around once like you tie your shoes, you go around twice. This adds more friction and it doesn't loosen. So when you tighten it up, it stays tight. See? You go around twice and you work it and twist it and work it around and get it as tight as you can. Now that's the surgeon's knot. What you're going to do is you're going to tie a square knot over that surgeon's knot. You go over and under or over. And a way to check that is when you tie it and you pull it like so, if it loosens like I just did, see, mine gives and it loosens a little bit, just a little bit, you know you've tied it backwards. If the knot loosens at all, you've tied it backwards. So you undo it and you go around the opposite direction. Now, mine stays nice and tight. See, it doesn't give at all. Now we've tied this is the surgeon's knot, but what it really is two wraps and a square knot, and that's the surgeon's knot. Now that you've tied your knot in your left hip, you still have two loose ends. You always back up any knot with a half hitch. For safety reasons, you just go around, under, and through on both sides of that knot one time. Back it up with a half hitch. Now you take these excess ends and you stick them in your back pocket. All the excess just stick out of the way in your pocket.
Now how many people feel kind of uncomfortable down here? That's what you want to feel. You want to feel uncomfortable down there because when you get up there, it'll help out.
Now when we issue you beaners, we're gonna retie these again because a lot of you need some practice, I guess we should say. You're gonna take the beaner. Those of you that have tack belts, I see most of you do. If you have tack belts, you run it through your tack belt first. You run through the top of your seat and then through the bottom. It's like a fish hook towards you. And you run the beaner through like this, so you end up in this position. If your seat should give, your belt will save your butt. That's why it's a good backup. Now what you've just tied is called a modified Swiss seat. A little history, the Europeans, the mountain climbers, all this rescue elevated rappelling, all this stems from, it originated in the European mountain climbing circles a long time ago in the 1800s. The Swiss seat was developed, the original Swiss seat, in about 1895 by European alpine climbers, and it was used exclusively till a little after World War II. Then somebody came up with this idea, a modified Swiss seat. The real Swiss seat is rather uncomfortable. You end up with big knots that dig into you. It's usually made out of line, twisted rope, and this is an improvement. Tied correctly, if you go inverted, you won't fall out of this seat. It's very safe. Its only disadvantage is that it can be rather uncomfortable if you have to do a rescue operation hanging for a long time on a rope. Then you'd want to go to a padded, prefabricated seat. But for tactical entries and whatnot, you just have a 15-foot piece of webbing, you put it in your kit, you can tie off doors, hold things open, lift things up on a roof, tie your modified Swiss seat, and go. So you can't beat it. And only cost $1 probably. It's about 50 cents a foot, maybe not even that. So the stuff is expendable. So it makes for an excellent seat. And it comes in various colors for those of you that don't like black. Now I want to quickly explain why the knot's on the left side. It used to be when we rappelled, we did a beaner wrap. We rappelled with a carabiner rather than a figure 8. And when you rappelled with a carabiner and you had to break yourself with your rope, that line would come down across your side and it would rub against your seat, and or it could rub against the knot. And what happens when nylon rubs on nylon, the heat generated melts the whole rig and everything fails. Well, when you're rappelling on a figure 8, the rope, regardless of which side the knot's on and which side your belay hand is, the rope doesn't come in contact with the knot. And we've just discovered that it doesn't matter which side the knot's on. It used to be we would put the knot on different sides depending on which side was our brake hand, but we found that that isn't important anymore, as long as you're using a figure 8. All right, any questions? Everybody got their seats? You're all jammed up? You got beaners, you got figure 8s, you have gloves?
Okay.
Okay, Mike.
If you would, go up to the first level and come over here to the side, and we'll be doing the exercise right there to start off with.
I can't, his position is perfect. His legs are shoulder width apart, slightly bent, a little loose at the knees. He lets his butt back so that the weight will start carrying him down. If you stay too vertical, you'll slip down and you'll hit your face. You want to get your ass hanging over the side. There he goes down. See his brake hand in the back? You put to stop yourself down. Stop yourself. See how he stops himself with his brake hand in the small of his back?
Yes, yeah.
Now,
Brake hand comes
brings
up
his
small.
left hand out, he'll start to rappel down.
Okay.
There you go. All right, so let's everybody do this evolution, and then the next time we'll try.
Can you lock off? Can you lock off, Don? Let's see if we can get it all first time, Kurt. We can get him up on the tower.
All right. Now come on back up here if you would.
Okay.
Hey, Don, can you undo it and do it again? Not everybody was up here.
Thanks for helping out, Don.
He loves it.
Yeah.
All right. Can you all see it now? Don's going to bring the line up over the top of the 8, keeping tension on it, and he's going to yank it down in there so, boom, he's locked off. Now he might do it another time for safety reasons, but he is locked off and he's not going anywhere. That's what you do prior to drawing your weapon and being able to shoot it. You want to lock off.
Yeah, to go over the top.
Off, Don, and continue. You'll reholster your weapon, you'll unlock yourself, and you'll continue down to the bottom. There we go. All right.
Smith off the pill.
Okay, now we can go 2 at a time.
You can just run off,
When you're
Don.
loading on that rope, don't step through that hatch.
Yeah. Now when you open these carabiners and lock them down, back it off from up the top, back it off about a quarter turn because the heat is going to expand that wheel and it's going to lock those little alloy stew buys up.
Okay, now try locking off.
Who hadn't got a seat? You okay?
Moss on rappel.
There you go. Well, you already know what to do. Pull it hard. There you go. Now you're locked. You might want
Yeah,
to
you can just stand on the ledge there. Just stand on that ledge right there. There you go.
Yeah, not on double rope.
There you go.
So you can undo
Your brake hand, your thumb is always up. Even if you invert, your thumb is always up. There you go. And you just, okay, see if you can lock off. Hold yourself, there you go. Now keep tension out, over, keep tension out and up. It's and behind it, on this side. No, the other side. Other side of the ear. There you go. That's it. Now pull down tight. There you go. Now for a double line, if you could get it across there, on a double line, you're about locked off. Single line, just for safety reasons, you go ahead and stick in the Okay.
Yeah. I'll tell you which rope.
You can run right off the line. Next man up.
Tighten that. Now, bring this
That's it. Pull it down tight.
as far as you can. You can let go. Now what you're going to do is
Now if you want, you can invert right there.
and run the rope through.
If you want to. Yeah.
Just kick
And
over.
what you just yeah. Yeah, ease yourself up to the wall. Or there you go.
Just keep one toe pointed.
Yeah.
Move that.
What you want to do?
You're not going to stop it.
There you go. Kick one leg around, that's it. Use the rope. Spread your legs out.
You're going to pull tension and lock it down.
Keep it up to your chest.
All right.
Yeah, so when you're not tied off, keep it to your chest, that's your break. When you want to go out, you just pull away from your chest a little bit.
Keep going. Keep going.
Yeah, easiest way when you're going down like this. Okay, easiest way to do that is post one leg and kick your other leg over.
on that.
You keep yourself away from the wall, it's not over the top. Yeah.
You can hook your off leg into the rope and help pull your own. There you go. Just turn around.
Yeah, while you're tied in, go ahead and try it real quick. Just keep one leg
you're not
posted
gonna go
and put
anywhere.
one leg over the top of it.
Not going to go anywhere. That's
There you go, just like that. So you keep yourself away from the wall, you gotta keep that
around
free
this
hand
way
from your head.
and
Using
do
your
it
face to
again.
smash.
Just
There you
for
go.
safety.
Yeah, you can let go of that other hand.
To let go.
You don't need that other hand. You're locked in.
Fix it.
Yeah.
Now wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Think about what you're doing.
Okay,
Break
come on.
the break hand.
Yeah. Same way.
Right.
You just
You're
want
gonna
to
come down
remember
with
when
this
you pop
hand
it.
right here.
There you go.
That's
That's it. Load it up there like you're doing.
There you go.
Just lay it on top without pulling it through, man. Behind, okay.
Then your break hand.
Now your break hand's
First time
set.
you've done it,
You're
or-
ready to go. You just force
as
it
you
on
pop it.
down. Now you got it loaded to pop.
Relax.
As soon as you pop it, your break hand's going to go to the small of your back.
There you go.
Off the
There you go.
Never even win it.
Still use your guide hand, unless you're going to go ahead and reholster, just use your guide hand just to hang on the rope.
okay?
Real light. Off rappel.
If you're in a hospital, all right, if you're coming down off a rope, all right, coming down like this and there's an innocent person behind somebody, can we take the shot? Probably not. All right, we're going to have to rely on somebody else, maybe a sniper, maybe somebody else that does the actual entry. Are we going to enter a room with somebody in there with a gun? Probably not. All right? If you do, you're kind of outweighing the odds or have a death wish or something. So we're going to be using this technique in an unoccupied room, basically, but you're always going to be ready. If something's there, the first guy through the window is going to have to take them out, or you might have to take them out as you're coming down. And remember, we have radio communications with all our other team. They're going to be telling us what's going on, so it's not like we're going to be alone up there. What I want you to do from the start is you're going to come down and I want you to shoot in each window. You get to the third floor up there, shoot the target, and you can see the FX ammunition where you're going to be hitting on the target. After you shoot that, I want you to holster, get in that proper position in, get yourself ready again, come down to the next window, draw maybe a little bit before you get there, and shoot the next target. You're going to find out that you might have to position yourself, might have to walk along that wall, might have to invert yourself a little bit, especially if you're over on the other side. All right, if you're coming down and you shoot with your right hand, can we be breaking like this and try to get our gun and holster? You're going to have to come across. What we recommend on that is I'm coming down, I'm going to get my gun out, and you're going to have to come across and shoot. Recommend you don't do this because you're going to lock yourself up and maybe fumble yourself around. So you're going to have to come out, lock, and really position your body. This line's here, but I can still shoot through my sights. All right?
One thing to remember, when you point these weapons around these ropes, put that muzzle in front of that rope. Blow it in half. You might as well have a knife on it. They're going to drop.
We're also just going to be using handguns. Think about whether you have an MP5. All right? Now you got something like this. All right? On the line. Are we going to add to the complexity of everything? Are we going to keep it simple? Everything we're doing today is keeping it simple. Just like an entry. The more things you try to compound, the more things shit's going to happen. Murphy's Law. Make sure that if you go in the window, our guns are going to be in the holster. All right? 3 people aren't going to go in a window with their guns out. Tactically, that's unsafe for everybody, us and our partners. Our weapons are going to be holstered. You're going to be coordinating with your officers just like they did on the demonstration. They're going to be coming down the same distance. Everybody's going to be looking at each other, making sure everything's all right. Once you get down and you make that decision to go in the window, the weapons are in the holster, you coordinate who's going to be first, who's going to be second, who's going to be third, and you do that before you ever come down.
Okay, when you're doing this with a harness, single line is the preferred method to do it because of the, you go double line, you know, with so much braking you can't hardly flow. It's a relatively easy brake. One hand operation, you can move down, move yourself around. The disadvantage is your feet are hanging, but it's pretty smooth that you need to stop and shoot. You can move hands, control it easy. This would be ideal for inside of a stadium or you know, where you get a free flow coming down. You get free hand movement with your access, but you need to do it single line vice a double line.
There's a lot of rappelling things that we didn't go into, that we weren't going to go into because of the time, and this is not really what this school was intended for. If you go back to your agencies and want to continue something like this, I'd highly encourage you to get into a rappelling school or get with your rappel master, because there's so many other things on this that will affect how you operate on the line for your targets and your windows and anything else that you're going to end up being up there for, your intelligence gathering, anything like that. It gets quite extensive. It can be refined down a little bit smaller for actual person on the line, but it's something else that you need to go into before you really, this is a complicated task on a rope, which to some people is a complicated task all in itself. And so we highly encourage anybody that wants to carry on something like this today, kind of get a little bit better base in rappelling before you really kind of go on through this.